Hello and welcome to Inside Edition to discuss national, regional and international issues in depth. With its continued institutional investment in technology infrastructure and its legal frameworks, the Kingdom of Bahrain has steadily grown into a remarkable technology hub and become a regional leader in digital services, as well as one of the first nations to introduce a nationwide 5G network as part of the Kingdom's Economic Vision 2030 and Government Action Plan 2019 till 2022. Since the very beginning of COVID-19 pandemic spread, Bahrain's digital infrastructure ensured a swift and resilient transition to the well-established eServices and remote work. The Kingdom also brought its digital capabilities to bear on tracing COVID-19 cases, as well as spreading required awareness among citizens and residents in collaboration with all concerned entities. To talk more about the Information and eGovernment Authority's efforts in combating COVID-19 through the usage of technology, we are pleased to be joined here in the studio by Vice Chief Executive of Information and eGovernment Authority, Dr. Zakariya AlKhaja, right after this.
تسابق مملكة البحرين الزمن لاستدامة الريادة عندما تجتمع إرادة الإنجاز ورؤية المستقبل. تتحول التحديات إلى قصص نجاح. يصبح الإنجاز أسلوب حياة وتبدأ سهولة الإجراءات من اليوم الأول. كان لإشراك القطاع الخاص دور في تقليص فترات الانتظار ويتيح التحقق إمكانية تقديم الخدمات المناسبة للأفراد. مئات الخدمات وملايين المعاملات الإلكترونية تستفيد منها مختلف القطاعات لتحقق سرعة التنفيذ، لتبلغ الطموحات عنان السماء بوقود التعاون والتكامل وبهدف الإنجاز والبناء. استدامة الخدمات المتطورة، ارتقاء الأداء النوعي بالشراكة والرقابة، سرعة في الإنجاز واهتمام بجميع الفئات. تتقارب المسافات وتتلاشى الحواجز ليكون المستقبل على بعد خطوة واحدة. نرى التواصل فضاء منظما يستوعب الجميع، تتفاعل في مداراته الأنظمة الحكومية تحت مظلة آمنة من المعلومات، ليظل المواطن دوما محور العملية التنموية.
Welcome back. Joining me here in the studio is Deputy Chief Executive of Electronic Transformation, Dr. Zakariya AlKhaja. Thank you for being with us today. Doctor, the IGA, the eGovernment Authority, has done so many things in the last few months after the pandemic has spread that people don't realize that the actual infrastructure was already there. Since its establishment, the Information and eGovernment Authority has been instrumental in meeting the national needs of providing digital and enhanced public services. The early investment in technologies have paid off in Bahrain's fight against the current COVID-19 pandemic. What can you tell us about that?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today with you here. And I'm so glad to be part of this program. If we go back to the history and we can look about the infrastructure of ICT in Bahrain that was established for more than 40 years back. According to the leadership instructions and directions that we have worked all together with different government entities to build a robust and reliable ICT infrastructure in Bahrain, which approve that the investment of ICT of yesterday, the payoff, we can feel it today.
Right.
And this is what's happening in pandemic, recently pandemic in a few months back. So the readiness and the maturity of ICT infrastructure in Bahrain, which been working in the past 40 years, and we have invested more. When IGA has been founded in 15 years ago, by entering quite of sophisticated applications and systems, and we try to connect all government entities together into one single network to build an institutional model and processes, and to re-engineer government operations and different government entities, to have sophisticated platforms, communication channels with people, the training that we've been conducting with different employees, the change management models, we work with different government entities. All these aspects reach us what we have today, what we are proud of having more than 140 services, integrated, in fact, integrated electronic services, which is not just one-way service, it is end-to-end electronic services without any kind of interventions from employees or even from third party. So we are proud that we have robust and reliable infrastructure in Bahrain, which helps us a lot to overcome the consequences of pandemic this years. We have now more than 7,000 government employees work from home. They can access smoothly without any kind of barriers to their back-end system. We have all government services available online through 4 communication channels. Bahrain.bh, mobile apps, kiosk, self-service machine, plus the contact center. All these channels are available 24/7 at the choice of our customers. They can access, they can accomplish their electronic services from different, about 45 government services. Such kind of convenient is really a value for Bahrain. Second aspect, now we notice that what's happening in government, in order to streamline the decision-making process, you have to handle or you have to conduct a virtual meeting. All meetings now from home or from office, without having physical interaction. And we work with different government entities to deploy what you call the Microsoft team. So every government entity, they have Microsoft team, we install that application so they can meet at any time virtually, and as well as we support the high-level meetings, the ministerial meetings by a different application, could be Zoom, could be Skype, Cisco applications. This kind of support, facilitation being given for the government, or for the public sectors, it makes governments working as normal on daily basis without kind of interruptions. And this is the credit that Bahrain has gained. When you compare Bahrain with different neighborhoods, we can notice, despite the difficult time we went through, despite the pandemic, despite 70% of government employees stay at home, working from home, let's say, things is moving smoothly, normally, without any kind of interruptions. Government operation is working without any kind of disruptions. We're happy or glad to have this one without investment in previous years, without the commitment from the top-level management, from the leadership, we'll never reach for what we have right now. Last point, which is the distance learning, what we have. It was surprise, from everyone about the importance of virtual learning. Because of this. And imagine we have more than 140,000 teachers and students has to access one system, one curriculums, one online books
at the same time.
It's a huge content. And we should enable all these people to access to the content smoothly without any interruption. And this is really the challenge. And it's a big challenge for us. We work closely with the Ministry of Education to scale their infrastructure so it's capable to handle such a huge amount of access by using AWS, which is thanks for the Amazon Web Service Cloud, which is Bahrain is the regional hub for the Amazon services. We move the infrastructure, we move the application of e-learnings, the whole things to the Amazon in a few days, and that's it. So everyone can access to their curriculum, to the content. They can interact with their teachers smoothly, seamlessly, without any kind of interruptions and delay.
It's actually also the fact has to be mentioned that Amazon services has actually come to Bahrain recently before the pandemic, a few years before. So there were preparations ahead of time, not for the pandemic, but for the actual modernization of the technological infrastructure before anybody even knew the pandemic was going to happen.
Definitely, and this is that we are proud that Amazon is working from Bahrain, serving different regions across the world. And so far we have shifted more than 60% of government system application to Amazon without any kind of burden to, let's say, to look after their hardware, purchasing process, software, with secure environment. People can access to the Amazon. I think government now should work and focus toward their business rather than focus toward to look after and spend time for IT environment, hardware, purchasing, and overhead of such things. And this is the main value of AWS, that providing scalable, big storage, let's say, zero burden, without any kind of, let's say, having hardware intervention people, or need to retire or to recruit very expertise, look after the hardware and infrastructure.
Right. Especially, I mean, you've already mentioned that there are different applications that were used for different entities. Like, for instance, Microsoft Teams was used for the educational sector and different low-level security sectors. But if you really look at the ministerial and other meetings that were happening, you guys have certain standards when it comes to security, how good the feed is, all that kind of stuff. And that was the fact that you didn't have to think about the storage or the hardware, made you focus more on the security aspects and the things that were important for these things, isn't that so?
It's important to take the security aspect as our top priority. The support that we received from His Highness the Minister of Interior, Sheikh Rashid bin Abdullah, always saying, employ the IT, employ the technology to serve people efficiently, with considering the security measurements. And this is exactly the statement that we are adopt, and we learn our staff and employees. We employ the ICT, we employ the technologies to make government services more standards, with high quality, more efficient government entity, but we should consider and give enough attention for the security measurements. And definitely IGA is taking so many security, let's say, elements into considerations. Infrastructure security, standard and policy, it should be there. Software security, train the employees and people how to use their system safely without providing any kind of gaps or left kind of malicious software. It could be entered from their PC. Training the employees. It is like, security is kind of a framework. It's not just about one aspect. It's a multidiscipline framework. We should work all together with different organizations, with different employees, to make the whole government system secured and at the same time more reliable.
Perfect. Well, coming to our next question, what role has the public-private partnership played in advancing the structural development of the country's ICT sector? You mentioned the Amazon systems, but what else is there to mention at this point?
Sarah, we know that technology is evolving so fast. We should catch. If we never catch, I think we'll stay behind. I think the lessons from pandemic, that now we are using technology 10 years forward, by the way. Corona pushed us to have a 10 years technology forward without any kind of permission. So the partnership is very critical, not just with private sector, with the companies, with international organizations, with NGOs in Bahrain as well, with subject matter experts from different consultancy firms, and the big companies like Amazon, Huawei, Microsoft, Oracle, Cisco. These are the big names, because those people have their R&D and they have their labs and they are tracing and they are building and creating technologies at their ends. So government should work, and we are working in fact, with different private sector to build such strategic partnership to get the most trend technology that empower the government or the government entities and sectors and providing such good quality of services. And now we are, everyone talk about AI, artificial intelligence, everyone talk about blockchains, everyone talk about big data analysis. So many big names is coming up.
Right.
So private sector is our partner since establishment of IGA in 15 years ago. Yeah. Working with the private sector side by side as a strategic partnership for the payment, for the services, for so many things. Private sector NGO is our arms for the technology in the future. Yeah.
And it's really important, I think, to mention and acknowledge the staff members of IGA and the people that make it possible, because as you said, there are so many cooperations internationally, regionally, and internally or nationally that have to be considered. Different companies have different security aspects, they have different requirements. Internationally, they have different requirements, and the fact that IGA locally does amend their policies and try to fit everybody in under one roof, so to call, one cyber roof, is a big thing. They have the latest protocols, they have the latest training, as you mentioned. The closest thing that I can think of when it comes to the applications that were provided is the Be Aware app and the Fina Khair campaign that were integrated so fast and with the highest level of security. What can you tell us about the hardworking people behind the IGA?
From the day one of pandemic, everyone could be work from home except the IGA. Most of staff is working is about 18 hours a day, and even through the weekend, just to ensure ensure that government is working and running smoothly without any kind of interruptions. This is number one. And number two, we realized from day one that we should use the technology and employ the ICT and Bahrain infrastructure to mitigate the consequences of the pandemic. Yeah. How we can use the technology, how we can use the maturity of services that you have in IGA to help the national task force of combating the coronavirus. Yes. So work together, and the idea is come to build an app that should be the focal platform for everyone in Bahrain to go through it and use it to help mitigating the pandemic, the consequences of the pandemic. Right. And this is the idea at the beginning. Then we work closely with the National Task Force for combating the coronavirus to have kind of multiple function on the Be Aware app. Number one is to ensure the people who's under the self-isolations and the regulation and controlling without going somewhere behind or beyond the restricted area. The self-isolation is quite very sensitive for people, to limit them and to limit those people who are under the isolation. Yeah. And we build kind of artificial intelligence algorithms to ensure people are within the restricted area that has been determined by the medical team.
For their own safety and the safety of others.
For the both of society, yes, and this is very important. As well as we work to have kind of very intelligent feature using big data analysis to control or even to, let's say, to have the contact tracing to find the suspected corona cases. And this is the point here. Everyone who download the app, and they can at any time, they protect themselves without his intervention. He doesn't know that the app is working and the data is behind the scene, is analyzing 24/7 from 100,000 of records to see if you've been very close to someone who has the coronavirus,
who has been
infected. Yes. Eventually, you might receive a message saying you've been at any time, certain place, in very close contact with someone has the coronavirus, and that one it protects you and protects your family. True. And as well as protect the society. Absolutely. And we'll take the further step in collaboration with the medical team. Yeah. This is the point, and also as well as the app has we try to put the trustworthy informations about everything about Corona in the news. So no need to go for different sources of fake information. So you have the full data and information about the pandemic in one application, and different electronic services for the scheduling appointment, to retrieve the result of test, and even now if you want to travel, you have a disclaimer and you know exactly what is the instruction if you want to travel from Bahrain, and what are the steps should be taken. So everything we need to know about the pandemic services in one application, which is the Be Aware app. And we spend a lot of efforts, honestly. This is totally made in Bahrain. Produced by Bahraini people from the day one, and we're proud of this. We're working with different even government entities, because it's an ecosystem. It's not just an app. Ministry of Health part of this, Ministry of Interior part of this, the airport and boundaries is boundaries institution. An institution is a part of this. So many government entities part of this ecosystem, so we can make it more successful and more efficient for our people.
Exactly, and just to emphasize at this point, this is one service, this is one application where so much work was put in to perfect the service to the citizens and the residents of Bahrain. Now, coming back to that in a little bit, I first want to talk about the enlightened vision of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa to employ modern technologies and artificial intelligence, as you have mentioned, in improving government services, which enable Bahrain to achieve many accomplishments in this field. What can you tell us about these achievements and ways to maintain their progress, especially with this whole new era that we have entered?
Well, from the first day, we've been received an instruction and direction from His Majesty about Bahrain has to go now toward the era of AI. We work with international organizations like UN and UNDISA, ESCWA, those organizations who have a lot of experience from different parts of worlds about artificial intelligence. So we've been in contact with them to agree to build kind of strategic direction for AI in Bahrain. And we are almost there to build that one. And we are working very closely with different government entities to build that framework. So everyone can work for AI applications from kind of list of a project, which is appended in that framework. IGA is working very closely with different government entities, even in private sectors. Now we have more than 470 electronic services available through different communication channels, which are 4. We have different projects. We are working with different entities to enable them, providing their own services, their own applications. We are working to build mobile apps. We know the trend now is mobile apps. People like to open their mobile and they get use of WhatsApp, social media, all these applications. So why governments not should be part of that one? We are part of this one since 6 years back. Now we have more. It is about 12 mobile applications available from App Store as well as Android Store. For traffic, for EWA, for exam results, so many applications are there. For Tawasul, for health services, for Islamiyat services, Finakhia, which is part of that one, Islamiyat services. All these applications are available through App Store. Anyone can download them. Be Aware is our flagship app, and it's good that I'm glad to announce that we have reached 1 million downloads so far for Be Aware. Which is big number. It is. And it shows you how much the Be Aware is being successful, and everyone put their trust into the Be Aware app.
Absolutely. With the latest numbers that are exhibited in the Be Aware app, as well as people actually depending, as you said, the GPS service, which tells people about their surroundings, how safe it is to go out, and so on. People have really relied on the Be Aware app. Now, this actually brings me to the next point. The legislative branch of the government actually played a pivotal role and gave full priority to the development of the IGA's performance and services. What can you tell us about the support and how it facilitates the achievements and the aspired goals that the IGA has built?
Exactly. It is important that to realize that digital transformations is kind of changing the way doing business in any organization. But data process re-engineering should be adaptable with legislation, regulation, and policies.
Right.
As an IGA, before we conduct or to develop any e-services from different organizations as part of digital transformation, we should revisit the legislations
Yes.
and regulation and policies
Yeah.
to understand, support providing services through different communication or electronic channels.
Exactly.
That's why legislation is so important. We try to revisit and to amend some of regulations
Yeah.
and some of directions and policies within the government organization.
Right.
In Bahrain, we have very sophisticated legislation framework,
Yes.
like e-transaction.
Yes.
And we are revising this one every 2 years, because things is moving and changing very fast.
Yes.
And we have e-crime legislation as well. We have national correspondence legislations.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the legal background and the legal coverage for the e-transaction and for the digital transformations, we are proud that Bahrain is one of the top countries. Even it's been mentioned in the UN report,
Yes, it
that
has.
Bahrain is forefront in terms of legislation and legal framework that support the digital transformation.
Exactly. Another thing that that branch actually does explain is spreading awareness. Awareness when it comes to the legislative sector and everything that comes when it comes to privacy, security, the continuation of work and everything, as well as other entities. What can you tell us about the aspect of awareness when it comes to the applications and to the IGA's services?
Well, the awareness is our arm to make our project, initiative, and services more successful.
Yeah.
So we have an IGA, a dedicated department for marketing and awareness.
Yeah.
Is working in collaboration with different entities, and part of this is change management.
Yeah.
If you want to make your project, your initiatives more successful and handy and commonly used by different people, you should implement what we call change management models.
Yes.
And it's so important for us. And we have a team dedicated for that one. So we are working with different media, we're working with different social media as well to make government services approach for everyone in Bahrain. Using different channels and using different, let's say, social media people, which is the most effective way of awareness now in Bahrain.
Yes. Well, when we come to the next point, from your point of view, how do you see the future of digital government services on local and on international levels?
Well, so the world now after before, Corona would not. After Corona will never be the same. After that, things change really is very dramatically after the coronavirus. So the responsibility for digital transformation is getting very high, and people now is demanding. Business is demanding.
Yeah.
People has appreciate the value of digital transformation. So we are working with different government entities by the support of leadership. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Barak, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Chairman of Supreme Committee for ICT, to have a framework for digital transformation for the remaining services or remaining physical services provided by government.
Yeah.
And this is what we are working now closely with different government entities to re-engineer the remaining services and to bring them back to the platform of digital transformation. The trend now is for 5G. We are working closely with TRA and different telecom company in Bahrain to implement the 5G. And hopefully by the next year we'll start working. 5G is available now, but we should be implemented across the country within next year.
Yes.
Artificial intelligence, blockchain, all these things, we try to embed that, to use them, to use the functionality, the value of this technology to provide our services for people. So with the pandemic, I think that the world has become totally different. The digital transformation is being given enough attention to provide more services, to provide more mobile applications, to be very close to our citizens and our residents, by giving sophisticated tools to access with the government without any kind of barriers. So it's really very challenging for IGA for the next, let's say, for the future with digital transformation, but we are ready with our digital transformation framework, with predefined government services. We have a plan to work with different government entities to re-engineer their operations, their procedures, and eventually to provide services for people rather than going to, to the front office physically.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about it, to understand this more, when you have gotten to such an advanced level where the IGA is providing all of these governmental services online, a lot of people have become more aware about time management, and there is no turning back. The pandemic has pushed, as you said before the show, it has pushed us 10 years forward. Even when the pandemic is over, people will still rely on the online services rather than physically going to institutions.
Imagine, Sarah, that according to our statistics, providing electronic services has saved our customer time by 74%. The processing time, the transaction time is being reduced by 74%, as well as 88% reduction from the cost from side of government, and 74% reduction from the side of from citizen and resident services. And this is really amazing. This is a result of having end-to-end electronic services provided for people. As a result, people are happy and they are demanding more and more. And they are saying, and frankly, and they are right, government has to compete with the private sector in providing services. They get used to receive service from banking, e-banking, from telecoms, from different retail services. So government has to compete this, and this is our role now to work so hard to provide that service to satisfy our customer and to raise the expectation of quality.
Especially that when it comes to quality and time management, all of these services being online have also improved the data storage, the data collection, the availability of information online. People can upload their information instead of going and getting the papers and then being sent back for a different. They actually have the capability now with the use of computers, with telephones, with scanning applications, all of these things combined to actually help improve these services and have a better database when it comes to the IGA to shorten their time. Isn't that so?
In addition to that, no cash. The complication of cash handlings from both sides has been eliminated. Now we get rid of having change or don't have cash. No cash is being now using across different government services, and even people being very happy that they're not necessary to handle cash. And you know the cash is quite really annoying for people to handle cash. Now they can do their transaction directly using different payment methods. In IGA, in our services, we have multiple payment methods of our customer choice. We recently introduced the e-wallet, which is the most sophisticated cashless management now. In cooperation with Max and Benefit, anyone now, if they don't want to, or if they don't prefer to use the credit card, we have credit card, we have debit card, we have an e-wallet by using Benefit Pay, or can use Max credit card. Yes, they can use the e-wallet for different government entities. So we give them choices, different options to have cashless, to get rid of the burden of that cash. As you said, the data is there. Accurate data, we should work with that, and you are responsible to maintain their privacy as well. And this is our top priority, and believe this is priority. It should be considered all the time to maintain and to keep the private data, their privacy in a safe place.
Actually, that's the standard that Bahrain has put. They have a very high standard when it comes to the security and safety of data. A few weeks back, we actually had the chief executive of Benefit here, and one of the things that were mentioned that during this pandemic, the amount of money that was transferred over just Benefit was so immense. It was almost unbelievable how people switched immediately to electronic financing. Do you see that as something that keeps on in the future even after the pandemic?
Yes, and people, they are eager to not handle even their physical wallet.
Yeah.
No need to have your physical wallet. It is really a burden for me, everyone, to handle that. Right. Because what happened now, even your cards, I mean ID cards, driving license cards, all these very soon will be transferred and switched to the mobile.
Right.
So the only things remaining was the cash. Yeah. So why you should handle that wallet with me all the time?
Absolutely.
So we are working now very closely with Max, with different financial institutions, plus the Benefit, to provide Bahrain e-wallet, which would be in the mobile app, so you can use it at any time. It will store your financial details, which is your payment details, and you can use it at any time to pay and to receive anything, I mean, with government entities. Yeah.
Of course, it's also important to mention that when such a move is made, there are always precautionary measures that the IGA and different entities put in mind in case something happens, which is very far-fetched. True.
And we have an audit solution for that.
Yeah.
We're working closely with the concerned entity to make sure everything. We have our national payment gateway, which is ensuring there are smooth let's say transactions, reconciliations of such cash management.
Well, we talked about time management and how the IGA has helped with that. We talked about financial management, which the IGA is also taking care of in collaboration with other teams. I mean, as we mentioned, the financial transfer actually makes people even more aware about how much money they have, because before that it was a cash thing. People don't really focus on how much they have or they don't. But with it being in front of them on their telephone, people are more aware. What else is IGA going to come up with? I mean, what can you tell us about the future and upcoming projects prepared by the IGA?
Let me give you something very hot news.
Yes, we love that.
Today, His Highness Sheikh Rashid bin Abdullah, the Minister of Interior, launched a total of 8 services, which is so critical services for people. They are waiting for that. Good contact services will be there online, so no need to go for any kind of let's say police station or any branch of Ministry of Interior to apply for the good contacts. You can now apply for good contact and you can receive it directly.
Amazing.
This is 3 services. We have also kind of services with General Directorate of Immigration and Passport. So you have visa. If you want to extend your visa, you want to follow up the status of your visa, it is also provided now online. We have paying the customs fees, and this also could be provided online. Traffic services. Yes. One of the most successful services we have now. Yes. We reach 1 million users in the past years.
That's amazing.
The app. Yeah. So today also we launched 3 traffic services for issuing traffic certificates, and also we are looking forward to have more services with the traffic, especially for learning a license and as well as for issuance. Let's say already we have international license, we have driving license, or our online.
Yes.
Now we are working to have the learning license to be issued very soon. Within a few months.
That's amazing.
Plus, we are working now very closely with different government entities. RERA, one of the ambitious organizations, they want to be transformed digitally, totally, and we are working hopefully within a few months, we'll launch the full services for RERA. And as well as I'm proud to say that judicial services provided by Ministry of Justice, it is a flagship in Bahrain.
Yeah.
We've been talking about that before the interview, if you remember. When you look around Bahrain, different countries, during the pandemic, they closed all doors of courts.
Yes, they did.
Remember, country without justice. Remember, country without kind of very
chaotic.
Very chaotic, very critical services, except Bahrain.
Yes.
Bahrain, we have the full services, the full court services, full judicial services provided through Bahrain. It's 100% transformed. So this kind of service never stopped. We're working with Ministry of Justice since back 4 years.
Yes.
So the result and the payoff, I guess, everybody can feel it now.
Yeah.
Yes, so clear, everybody is feel it. Maybe the door's closed, but the organization is working. The court is running up.
Yes.
Nothing's being shut down. So this is very good. I mean, this is very flagship. I'm so proud about that one, that the full court management, the full case management, the notary services, all are provided through online, and people can do whatever they want. I mean, ID card services,
yeah.
Residential address change services,
Right.
IGA, the section of card, the center of ID card services,
Right.
it's 100% being transformed.
Yes.
So all services now provided through Bahrain BH,
Yes.
which doesn't allow you to go physically there
Right.
and
Right.
apply and take an appointment. No appointment.
Again, saves time, saves money.
Save time, save money, save efforts,
Yes.
and to stay safe from any kind of disease. So we're working very closely with different government entities to make their services more efficient, high quality, and provided for people at any time at their convenient, and to save them from any kind of, not even today, even for tomorrow disease.
Yes. I mean, as you mentioned, the RERA services, another system that is very exciting about coming back, and you've mentioned before, is the Jobseeker system, as well as you already mentioned the e-visas, and something that a lot of people maybe take for granted, the e-kiosks. I love these machines. They are everywhere, and whenever you have anything dedicated that you cannot find on your application, you always have the e-kiosks.
It's kind of, it's walk-in services.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, in shopping malls, even different entity, wherever, you can find the kiosk and you can do your transaction online. If you allow me to raise this point, that the philosophy of IGA from the beginning, in 1997,
yeah.
that we should contribute in all phases of people life cycle,
Yeah.
starting from birth and to their death.
Yes.
Birth certificates are there.
Yeah.
Vaccination certificates are there. Go through the schools, you can find the exam results, enrollment, and everything. I mean, all the phases of life cycle of people, we try to contribute and to be part of these things.
Yes.
So, up to school, up to graduation from university, enrollment, gradings, systems are there. Traffic service, want to obtain driver license, learnings,
Right.
job seekers, as I said,
Yes.
if you want to look for a jobs, you can apply for a jobs. Civil Service Bureau, you can apply for a job, you can receive. I mean, traffic, if you become household, you have EWA, you have so many things are there,
Right.
providing for you. For commercial, for business user as well, if you are a business, you can have online services,
Right.
through the Jillat and different commercial services are available. I mean, we try to be part of this life cycle.
Yes.
And to fill the gap from wherever we can fill it. And this is the philosophy, to make people life more convenient.
Yes, absolutely. And that brings me to my final question for today's show. The convenience of people only comes through knowing where their issues lie. And the feedback for us, for any entity, even us here in the media, our feedback comes from the people. So how do you value the feedback of your end consumer when it comes to improving your services?
A very interesting question. Thank you for this. And this takes me back to the direction from His Royal Highness Sheikh Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, First Deputy Prime Minister, the Crown Prince, when he say, go ahead, implement Tawasul.
Yes.
And this is Tawasul. And we feel proud of having a platform. It's called Tawasul, which receive the feedback from people, their suggestions, and even their complaints.
Yes.
And Tawasul is very sophisticated ecosystem, integrate whole government entities together. So you can submit any complaint, any suggestions, and will go directly through kind of workflow to the government entity, the respected government entity. They can look at that and they come back to you and with proper answers, and they get your feedback as well. And if you are not satisfied with their answers, you can keep the case open. It's up to your choice. And this is kind of a transparency and accountability. And we have full dashboard for top management. They look after how many complaints, how many suggestions has been addressed
Right.
for X ministry, for Y ministries.
Right.
So people, they know exactly, and they have KPI and SLA, and they have live limit, and it is a kind of governed
Yes.
ecosystem with government entities. And we receive all feedback from that one, and we have received complaints, as well as we are conducting, in collaboration with the University of Bahrain, kind of landscape survey
Yeah. Okay.
to read the perception of our clients in terms of satisfaction, utilization, what kind of services they are happy with, what not they are unhappy, and even the transformation rate from people's, and even the kind of satisfaction of certain project that we work with. So this is annual survey. It's give us a lot of facts, so we can keep improving our services and to maintain our infrastructure up to satisfy our clients. And this is our ultimate target, to make people happy and to provide convenient services for them, because they are #1 priority for us.
Amazing. I mean, I'm sure also when it comes to seeking more information about these services, social media is a big part of IGA's entity, isn't it so? So if people want information, they would go on the social medias and they would find more information about the services provided and how to contact.
Yes, social media are available. We have 5 channels of social media, all kinds of social media IGA is active of.
Yeah.
And we are receiving daily, in fact, daily feedback from different people. I mean, from Bahraini, non-Bahraini,
Yes.
resident, expat, students. And we try to be, let's say, an answer at real time.
Yeah.
We don't want to delay. I mean, they can see how much we are interact through our social
Very
media,
efficient.
and this is our strategic arms for our clients to understand how they look, how they see IGA,
Yeah.
how they see our services, how they are our channels, our projects. And we are receiving hundreds, I'm saying, of suggestions from citizens, even from residents. We take them into reality, and we try to take them back to back to the government entities in order to translate them. I mean, to study them very well, and if possible, we can bring them to the reality, if it is services, project, whatever. One example of that is the e-wallet.
Yeah.
E-wallet, by the way,
Yeah.
we've been receiving so many recommendations from our clients, say, okay, we need an e-wallet now because benefit pay is so common.
Yes.
So why Bahrain.bh not employ benefit pay?
Yes, yes.
So we work closely with benefit, closely with Max, with different, and we build our, to provide that one to adapt with what we're happening now with people and their satisfaction level.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being with us and answering our questions today and making things clearer to our viewers.
It's my pleasure.
And we also would like to thank you, dear viewers, for watching us, and see you next week in another episode of Inside Edition.